Greetings, family, and peace. Coming at you again with another session of truth and enlightenment, and the importance of knowing yourself, and how we got into the situation that we as a people find ourselves in, based on the journey that we have endured under Christianity, and how important it is to embrace what we've been through as a people, and how God is bringing us out of it to show the world that He can cause a people to die and bring them back to life again under the covenant of righteousness that we broke as a people. And I'm going to open up with the Fatiha that is necessary to say in the morning, in the noonday, and at sunset. It pertains to obedience, to righteousness, and the judgment that comes upon the people that have broken the covenant. And it will erase and remove you from the torment of being under the influence of another man's religion. So let's do the Fatiha and get started with the conversation of enlightenment. In the name of righteousness, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to righteousness, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, most gracious and most merciful, master of the day of judgment. You do we worship, and your aid do we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, those whose portion is not wrapped, and who go not astray from righteousness. And I'm reading this from the Quran, the translation of the Holy Truth. And I would like to get started, and I hope you've been studying and trying to get up to speed, because the key words that has to change in the Quran when you're reading it is the word Quran, which means truth. Instead of saying Quran, say truth. And when you see Allah, make sure that you substitute the word Allah for righteousness, because that's what Allah represents, is your righteousness and your commitment to righteousness, not your faith. You have to have a commitment to your righteousness, and your righteousness is equated with your soul that was given to you. That's why Lucifer got so upset with God, because Lucifer was one of the big angels in heaven. And when God created man and gave his spirit in man, the angel Lucifer got upset with pride. And that don't go good with righteousness. And so he got punished for being a prideful person. So, and his pride caused him to get kicked out of paradise, because he was being disobedient. And that disobedience caused him death. So he was thrown out of the garden with man. But he got upset with God because he had been around longer than God, so he thought he needed that special spirit, because angels only do what their creator tells them to do. But man was given free will. Angels don't have free will. So that's what pushed him over the edge, Lucifer over the edge. So he said in revenge of that act that God gave to Adam, he was going to create a scenario that would cause Adam to be deceived. And that situation that he created is called religion. Religion is based on a culture that you find yourself in, or that is dominated by religion. That's why the story of Moses, and Moses wrote the first five books in the Bible. The only reason that the Catholic Church introduced the New Testament, because it was created to deceive you out of what Moses, the first five books, talked about, was the covenant and obedience to the covenant of righteousness. So the Catholic Church, because they can't conform to righteousness, they went ahead and they wrote a book that they could control the masses. And in their book, the New Testament, they created the Trinity as a trap, and they created the cross and the crucifixion as a trap, and they created the Pope as a trap, and they created religion as a trap. So they are being obedient to the fallen angel, because religion is going to be used to deceive the original man, Adam, out of his righteousness that God endowed him with. So you have to be careful and listen to what Moses said in the first five books of the Bible before the Catholic Church introduced the New Testament. There was no need for a righteous person to go under the New Testament when the first five books explained explicitly the importance of being under the covenant of righteousness. And so by you being tempted with religion to break or to bite the fruit of religion, then you are going to be deceived. And the only way out of that scenario of religion is going back to the covenant of righteousness. In the covenant of righteousness, there's protection. And out of the covenant of righteousness, you think you're naked. You fall into a guilty thing, because religion was not condoned for you. The covenant was condoned for you according to Moses, not according to me. According to Moses, the covenant is your protection. That's what Exodus was all about. It's about being obedient to the covenant, not being obedient to religion. Religion is from the person that hates the original man, Adam, which is the fallen angel, Lucifer. And I'm not making this up. It's explicit. But when you read the Bible and you're reading it from a perspective of a religion, you will never see it. I didn't see it. I really didn't see it until my soul pursued righteousness and the importance of righteousness. And there's only two scenarios. You're either a righteous person or you're unrighteous. Just keep it simple and follow your righteousness. That's the only thing that your Creator would want you to do and is asking you to do, is to come back to the covenant of righteousness and be obedient to it. And that's what Allah means. Allah means the diagram of Adam. And Adam was created in righteousness. And the tree that he bit in the Quran, they call it the tree of Sukkun. It comes straight out of the middle of hell. Religion is not for the original man. The religion is for the grafted man, mankind. You are a man. You're not mankind. You are the original man. Everybody else is mankind. But you don't have no privilege. The only privilege that you have is your obedience to the holy covenant of righteousness. That's the only difference. And anybody can accept it. But you have to live it. You can't talk it with your mouth. And my main focus is on what the African American churches are doing to the African American community. For example, the African American churches, they fall under the Roman synopsis of being non-profit. Why would you want to be a non-profit when God wants you to be profitable? And because the African American churches are being non-profit, they do not want to get out of the box of religion because they are under the control and the domination of another man's religion, which is controlled by man and not controlled by God. And man has a fear of the man that they worship, that white image that is on the cross. When I was in Brazil, I traveled to Brazil, and I seen the effects that the Christ the Redeemer on the mountain had on the Brazilian people. And it's a very psychological effect. When you go down to the beach of Ipanema, you can see, the psychological effect when people make sandcastles. They can't make a sandcastle without having that image of the Redeemer on it. It's the Catholic Church really has a foothold in South America and in Africa and in Asia. It's idol worshiping. When you think that another man is better than anybody else, or when you think that you are in the bloodline of God, which everybody's in the bloodline of God because it wouldn't be here if it was not for righteousness and the creation that is created around righteousness. So there's no one particular group that God respects better than the other, especially when they do not have the righteous spirit that a person should have, because of what Christianity has done to African Americans as far as the crucifixion is concerned. And because of religion, we can't see the effects of the crucifixion that it implies and that it has done to us. What they've done to us as a people was not normal for another people to treat a people. And America was built on human trafficking. It was the African slaves that built America. But the white people called us lazy and shiftless and labeled us Negroes. But they are the ones that caused us torment, suffering, pain, deceit, fear, selfishness, hate, lies. And so when you are in an environment that is perpetuating lies, cheating, just like politics now, they rather support a person like Donald Trump, who was found guilty of federal crime, who petitioned hate, who petitioned division, and who also is summoning white supremacy back into the American dream. they have a fear of retaliation because they are being overwhelmed by people of color. And they can't stand that. It's putting too much pressure on them as a people when when they're competing to be on the top or image of God, and immigrants are living better. Non-whites are living better than a lot of whites. This is what is generating or stirring the hate thing among people that support Donald Trump. They feel very threatened because they feel that they have a particular lifestyle to maintain because they are white. But that don't work anymore. It's just a fact. And I think we as a people ought to relish what we've been through as a people and survive, not on our own, but because God promised the people that he would never leave you or forsake you. And what we've been through as people, he was there, but we refused to go back to righteousness because we had been tricked into believing a lie of Christianity. There is no white God. That Jesus was a metaphor, a myth of what they were going to do to melanin people. They were going to nail you, nail your feet and nail your hands and put a wreath of thorns around your head. It was symbolic for what they was going to do to melanin people. That's why it wasn't no one in the grave. And when they went to see the body, because they hadn't created or established the crucifixion yet that they was going to do to melanin people. But God has protected us and delivered us. And you have to understand that you have been delivered. And understand also that righteousness is your deliverance. You know what hate is. You know what isolation is. So you have to prepare yourself for success and for freedom and for deliverance and redemption. You know, it's something that you have to fight for. And it's something that you have to believe in from an economical perspective and learn how to work together for a common cause. And the common cause is a better future and things that you can't put a price on. Righteousness is wanting to bless you and give you more than what you lost as a people. That's not my promise, that's his promise. And just like the prodigal son, when you get tired of white supremacy and racism and being on the bottom, go back home to your father. Your father is righteousness. Righteousness don't need a son. Righteousness can handle itself. You just got to put faith in righteousness and be obedient to it. And it will deliver you. And it will protect you. There's no reason for us not to trust righteousness after what we've been through under this righteousness. And America was built on this righteousness. You know, and the Jewish community need to step up and tell the truth because they were involved in slavery also. And the Arabs, they were involved in slavery also. It was because of the slavery that the Arabs were producing in Africa that caused white people to get involved in the slave trade. Because the Arabs were mistreating the Africans also. And white folks said, if they can do it, we can do it. And the Jewish people were also involved in the slave trade. The Rothschild family, that's how they got their wealth. And they were wealthy enough to finance wars. You just got to start reading history. Read your history on slavery and see how Christians treated you, and see how they crucified you. You have to really understand how you were crucified under Christianity and who benefited from Christianity was white America and was the Jewish community and the Arab community. The Arab community, they killed the prophet just like the other people pursued the prophets of God. The Arabs are no different. They won't tell you that Allah means truth or righteousness or that the Quran means truth. They want you back under religion so that they can stay on the top. There's a spiritual side to Islam. There's a spiritual side to Christianity. If you stay on the religious side, you'll stay a slave. If you elevate yourself to the spiritual side of any religion, you'll see righteousness. My friend George Davis, may God be pleased with him and grant him peace and good health. He was telling me about Sufi. And I studied the book that he gave me, and Sufi is also connected to righteousness. And it was very enlightening when I was reading about Sufi and Sufism. It's basically the same thing that the Quran teaches. And the Quran teaches righteousness and truth. You know, you don't have to be a Muslim. You just have to be a righteous person. And that's what Muslim means, as a righteous person. But you have to live a righteous person's life in order to claim righteousness. You just can't say Allah and not know what Allah means. You got to connect and be able to connect and convince people or to explain to people who Allah is. You have to live it and you have to show it. You just can't say it out. That's no different than Christians talking about Jesus. They can't explain Jesus. But Jesus was an ambassador for righteousness. Prophet Muhammad was an ambassador for righteousness. Abraham was an ambassador for righteousness. Noah was an ambassador for righteousness. You know, you can't talk about it, you got to be about it. And that's our problem. We've been conditioned to be deceitful under Christianity because that's all Christianity knows. That's where you learn how to lie from, being a Christian. And that's who taught you how to lie, was a Christian. Now that you have been enlightened, try living for righteousness and see what kind of residual effects come about from trying to be a righteous person and living and practicing righteousness and looking for the residual results of a righteous person's way of life. Don't fake it. Be committed to being a righteous person, not a religious person. Moses already told you that God will destroy you under religion. There's punishment for being under religion. And I didn't tell you that. You read it. And you don't know that you're living a religious life. And you're afraid to go against religion. But you got to go against religion if you want to be free from pain, sorrow, and suffering. You know, you have to live it. And don't be afraid of it. And trust it. It'll give you and it'll bless you. Don't be afraid to stand up for the truth. Hell, you've been standing up for a lie. Try standing up for the truth. You know Christianity was a lie. And Christianity mistreated you and your ancestors. And you're in this predicament because you broke the covenant. And because you broke the covenant, then you got to pay. Your Creator is going to punish you because he said he would. Because you're not supposed to believe in anything other than the truth and righteousness. So you got to step it up, you know, and do what you got to do to get out from under the control and the power and the influence of religion. This is what all the prophets taught. Stay away from religion. That's what they taught. Yeah. And this is a book Brother Abdullah sent me, and it's about what Christians did to us under slavery. Story after story. And you can forgive, but you can't forget. I've forgiven them. But once you accept righteousness, believe me, God start punishing. Righteousness is going to punish those that are unrighteous. You ain't got to do nothing but get right. Just to get right with yourself. And let righteousness get rid of your enemies. That's his promise. Not my promise. That's the only way we're going to get rid of racism and white supremacy, by being a righteous person and be willing to die for righteousness. Because righteousness is what the world was created with. The world wasn't created with hate. Hate came later, after you was tempted with that apple from the tree out of hell. Religion. Religion is what tripped Adam, and is what's tripping us. You have to believe in the covenant that all the prophets stood up for and was willing to die for. They wasn't willing to die for religion. They was willing to die for righteousness. It was never a religious prophet. It was always a prophet for the covenant of righteousness. And you can take that to the bank and cash it. And when you're reading the Quran, you know, it's a beautiful book. And light also means enlightenment. And Quran, instead of saying Quran, say truth. Instead of saying Allah, say righteousness. And when you see evil, replace evil with religion. These are the codes, you know, for unlocking the Quran and the Bible. Your Lord and your Savior is righteousness. And don't let nobody tell you that you can't be righteous. Get away from them people, because you can be righteous. You know? And trust in righteousness, not in religion. And may righteousness bless you like it's blessed me. You know? I'm going to close. And use those words. Instead of Allah, say righteousness. And evil, say religion. And light, enlightenment. And Quran means truth. All right, take note of that. And may righteousness bless you, and continue studying, and we'll continue growing. And in the name of peace and righteousness, may you grow, and may we grow together. And may we also be on one accord with righteousness to deliver us from evil. Ameen.